Welcome guys, so we're into this poem by Robert Frost now, which is the last poem in the series of poems that we've been working on. And this one is called Mending Wall. Let's make some room here. So it's a little bit trickier in terms of the identification work that you have to do, because this time it didn't point out the lines on the side where these match. So you kind of have to find them scattered throughout the poem. And we'll notice right away about this poem in terms of the layout of the poem. We just have one solid kind of chunk of text here. All these lines are together, so they're not divided into stanzas. Okay, so that's going to make it also slightly more dense in terms of finding what you're looking for in the lines. This poem will also use what we call enjambment. So it uses a lot of enjambment. Enjambment is when the line the whole thought carries over multiple lines. Something is lagging here, sorry. Okay, so you might have a line where, if you think of it sort of like a sentence, you get to the end of the line, but then it's going to continue on the following line. So it kind of runs over, and it may even do that again for multiple lines. So that's called enjambment when that happens. So we're going to see that in this poem as well. Well, let's do a close reading and we'll identify some of these key features of the poem, but also we want to think about the meaning of the poem. This one's a little bit more dense and a bit obscure, so it's harder to figure out the meaning in this particular poem because there's a lot of ambiguity and some double meanings. So ambiguity means it's not totally clear. It could go one way, it could go the other way. Okay, and there's a lot of wordplay as well. And one of the things you have to identify is irony, where the opposite of what you think should happen happens. So right away we want to sort of think about titles, right? Because titles are important. So something already is going on with wordplay just in the title. Mending Wall. Okay, Mending Wall. In this case, what is mending? What kind of word is it here? Is it a noun? Is it an adjective? Is it a verb? Well, it's kind of strange because it doesn't say mending a wall, okay, which would make that a verb, and this would make this the action. We're fixing a wall. If you watch the video that shows the reading of the poem, but it also shows some old footage of two men fixing an old stone wall. That's what they're fixing. It's not a brick wall like this graphic shows. It's an old stone wall. Well, it's not mending a wall, mending a wall. It's mending wall. So the wall itself becomes the subject here. And mending wall means a wall that fixes something. Okay, mending is to fix. If it's a mending wall, it's a fixing wall. It's a little bit strange, right? There's a wordplay going on here. So the wall itself, the mending has become an adjective in this case about the wall. So what does the wall fix? Fixing wall? Are they fixing the wall? Is it fixing them? What's it fixing? Right? They're not fixing a wall. So mending wall is purposely ambiguous wordplay. And in terms of English grammar, it's bending it on purpose. All right, let's get into the poem itself. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen groundswell under it and spills the upper boulders in the sun, and makes gaps, even two can pass abreast. All right? Something there is that doesn't love a wall. Well, something seems to be connected to nature. When the ground gets frozen and in the wintertime it melts, that's frozen groundswell. And this water, here's our wall here. And the water from the frozen groundswell kind of pushes under, starts to wear away the boulders, maybe push through, and some of these boulders get shifted. Some of these rocks get shifted, and it pushes them, and then, one might kind of fall over because of that shifting. So the ones that are on the upper boulders, up here, they're less firm, they fall down. Now that something is loving. So look for the verb that gives an action or a feeling of something human to something that's not human. In this case, we're bringing in the idea of nature immediately. Okay, and nature and what is natural. And we're going to come back to this theme later. It's important. But right off the bat, there's conflict between the wall and nature, because the water is making the wall fall down. Okay, but we do have personification because something, right? Something in this case hates or dislikes, doesn't love. And that's personification. All right, so, there's even gaps being made in this wall so that two people can pass by abreast. That means, one side by side, one person here, one person there. They can walk through the gap now in the wall that they're fixing. The work of hunters is another thing. I have come after them and made repair where they have left not one stone on a stone, but they would have the rabbit out of hiding to please the yelping dogs. Now is another image coming in about hunters, and hunters jumping over the wall, knocking down stones, hunting rabbits. So again, we get this kind of nature connection with hunters and humans and nature, and hunting as kind of a, an old-fashioned pastime, or maybe they do need to do it just to get food and survive. We don't know how long ago the setting of the poem is. But here's another force, which is breaking down the wall. The gaps I mean, no one has seen them made or heard them made, but at spring mending time, we find them there. Springtime is when you fix the wall. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill, and on a day we meet to walk the line and set the wall between us once again. So, in this case, they're not walking side by side, but one is on this side and one guy is on this side of the wall. And they meet to walk the line and fix the wall, one on one side, one on another. And they set the wall between us once again. On a day we meet to walk the line, set the wall between us once again. We keep the wall between us as we go, to each the boulders that have fallen to each. Some are loaves and some so nearly balls that we have to use a spell to make them balance. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. Okay, here's a metaphor. The loaves and some are balls, so stones equal loaves of bread, or balls. Okay, that's transformed by the verb are here. They become that. So some little stones, are really small and it's hard to balance them all and fit them all together. They fall down and you have to just get it up there and hopefully it balances and doesn't fall down. And they know, they're stay where you are until our backs are turned. They know that naturally the wall is falling normally. So they're in the repairing process. They're keeping a wall up, but it's kind of unnatural them to repair it. Naturally, it keeps falling down. All these different forces of nature and humans are tearing it down, but they have to repair it. We wear our fingers rough with handling them. Oh, just another kind of outdoor game. There's another metaphor. They're saying they're repairing stuff is an outdoor game. Just another kind of outdoor game, one on a side. It comes to a little more. There where it is, we do not need the wall. He is all pine, and I am apple orchard. There's another metaphor, because the human beings are being turned into literally pine trees and apple trees. So, what was maybe the original purpose of the wall? We're not sure. They have apple trees, so they have an orchard. Maybe they make apple juice and sell their apples there. So we have this kind of connection to farming as part of the purpose of the wall, perhaps. We have the issue of property. We have the issue of boundaries and borders. And part of boundaries and borders is division. Okay? But on the opposite side, we have this idea of unity, because they're coming together to fix the wall. Okay, so that goes back to the ambiguity we mentioned and the double meanings. So we'll come back to this in more detail in the next video.